check the pool, and the water that was perfectly clear on Thursday is cloudy. Not green, not swampy, just dull hazy. The kind of murky that makes you not want to swim in it. You have 3 hours. Most owners do one of two things at that moment. They drive to the pool store and hand the problem to someone else for $80 to $1,000, or they grab whatever bottle is closest, dump it in, and hope. Both of those responses cost money, waste time, and in most cases do nothing for 3 to 4 hours anyway. 1. The party happens in cloudy water and the bottle gets the blame. Here is what almost nobody tells you. Cloudy water in a clean, chemically balanced pool has exactly 3 causes, not 12. Not a mysterious combination that needs a specialist. 3. And if you know which one you're dealing with, you can fix it in under an hour with products you either already own or can grab from any grocery or hardware store for under $20. No service call, no pool store. No waiting until Monday. 90% of cloudy water fixes fail because the owner treats the cloudiness instead of the cause. 1. By the end of this video, you will know all 3 causes, how to identify which one hit your pool in about 5 minutes, and the exact step-by-step method to clear it fast. And we are going to do it without a single specialty bottle from the pool store wall. 1. First, why cloudy water happens at all, and why the pool store answer is almost always wrong. Walk into any pool store with a cloudy water problem, and the conversation ends in the same place. A clarifier, maybe a flocculant, sometimes both, plus an algaecide for insurance. You leave with $60 worth of bottles and instructions to run your pump for 24 hours. Here is what is actually going on. Clarifier is a bandage. What it does is take the tiny suspended particles, making your water hazy, and clump them into bigger particles your filter can catch. One that sounds useful. And sometimes it is, but it treats the symptom. It does nothing about why those particles are in the water to begin with. Fix clarifier. Do nothing about the cause and the water clouds back up within a week. You are back at the store that is by design. The cause of cloudy water is almost always one of 3 things. A chemistry problem, a filtration problem, or a load problem. Each one feels the same from the surface. Each one has a completely different fix. Pour clarifier into a filtration problem and you're dumping money into a filter that cannot do anything with it. 1. Pour it into a chemistry problem and your chlorine is still broken when the bottle runs out. The method that actually works starts 10 feet before you open any chemical. It starts with a test strip and 2 minutes. Step 1. Diagnose before you pour anything. Pull out a test strip. You need 4 readings: free chlorine, pH, total alkalinity, and cyanuric acid. This takes 2 minutes and it tells you everything. If you do not own a test kit, stop reading this video and go buy one before you buy another chemical. A decent strip kit is $15. It will save you hundreds. Here is what you're looking for. Free chlorine should be between 2 and 4 parts per million. pH should sit between 7.4 and 7.6. Total alkalinity should be between 80 and 120 parts per million. 1 cyanuric acid, your stabilizer, should be between 30 and 50 parts per million. Read those 4 numbers and you already know which of the 3 causes hit your pool. Because each cause leaves a fingerprint on that test strip. Cause 1 fingerprint, chlorine is low or pH is high, or both. That is a chemistry problem. Cause 2 fingerprint, chlorine is fine, pH is fine, but the water is hazy and has been for days despite adding chemicals. That is a filtration problem. 1 cause 3 fingerprint. Everything tested perfect 2 days ago. You had a crowd in the pool yesterday, and now it is cloudy this morning. That is a load problem. Write down your numbers. Now you know which fight you are in. 1 cause 1. The chemistry problem. And why pH is the villain nobody checks. This is the most common cause of cloudy water by a wide margin, and it is the one the pool store is least likely to name correctly because fixing it does not sell specialty bottles. Here is the mechanism. Chlorine does not work in a vacuum. At a pH of 7.4 to 7.6, chlorine is an aggressive sanitizer. At a pH of 8, that same chlorine loses roughly 75% of its killing power. It is still in the water. It still reads on your test strip. 1. But it is sitting there mostly inactive, unable to oxidize the organic particles, making your water cloudy. So the water looks off, you test, chlorine reads 2 parts per million, looks fine, and you have no idea that almost none of it is actually working. Meanwhile, pH climbs on its own in summer. Aeration pushes it up. Swimmers push it up. Trichlor tablets actually lower pH over time, but liquid chlorine nudges it higher. A pool sitting at pH 8.0 or above with a 2 parts per million chlorine reading is a pool that is effectively running near zero sanitizer. The particles accumulate. 1. The water clouds. The cause was pH, not chlorine, and the fix is pH, not more chlorine. Here is where the forbidden part comes in. The pool store fix is a $22 bottle of pH minus or pH down. The active ingredient on the back label is sodium bisulfate, which is dry acid. It works. It is also $22 for a job a $4 alternative can do. Muriatic acid lowers pH faster, more cheaply, and more powerfully. A gallon runs $10 at any hardware store. It is the same compound pool professionals use. The reason the store sells you the powder instead of sending you to the hardware aisle is margin. 1. That is the whole reason. Here is how you use it safely. Because muriatic acid is not something to handle carelessly. Always dilute it first. Add the acid to water. Never water to acid. Pour it slowly into a bucket of pool water, never directly from the jug. Add it to the deepest part of the pool, away from the skimmer, away from the lights, with the pump running. Walk it around the perimeter slowly if you are adding a large dose. Wear eye protection. Gloves, closed shoes, acid splashing on bare feet is a bad Saturday. 1 for most residential pools, sitting between pH 7.8 and 8.2, you are looking at roughly 16 to 32 ounces of muriatic acid per 10,000 gallons to bring pH back into range. Add half your calculated dose, run the pump for 2 hours, retest, then add the second half if needed. Never dump a full dose and walk away. pH can overcorrect, and a pH below 7.0 corrodes metal fittings, irritates eyes, and eats your plaster. Slow and steady with acid. Now check your alkalinity too, because here is the relationship that catches owners off guard. Total alkalinity is the buffer that holds pH in place. 1. If alkalinity is low, pH swings wildly, you correct it, it drifts back within hours, you correct it again, it drifts again, you spend all weekend chasing a number that will not stay still. Fix alkalinity first and pH becomes stable. That is the order of operations, and it never changes. Alkalinity below 80, add baking soda, plain, grocery store baking soda. Arm & Hammer, store brand, whatever is cheapest. Sodium bicarbonate is sodium bicarbonate. The pool store sells the same compound at $15 to $20 a tub with a pool picture on the front. The grocery store sells it at about $1 a pound. 1 for a 10,000-gallon pool. Every 1.5 pounds of baking soda raises alkalinity by roughly 10 parts per million. Add it with the pump running. Broadcast it across the surface rather than dumping it in one spot, and give it 2 to 4 hours before you retest. Fix alkalinity first, then bring pH to 7.4 to 7.6, then add chlorine. In that order every single time. Now for the chlorine itself. If chlorine is genuinely low after you have corrected pH, you need to bring it up fast. Liquid chlorine is the clean choice here because it adds no cyanuric acid, no stabilizer stacking, just straight sanitizer. 1 liquid pool chlorine at 10% strength or plain unscented household bleach at 6 to 8%, both work. For bleach, you use proportionally more. Add with the pump running, preferably in the evening so it does not immediately hit midday UV. A pool sitting at correct pH with 3 parts per million of free chlorine will begin clearing within 2 to 4 hours, not because of any magic, because the chemistry that was already in the water can finally do its job. That is the forbidden fix for cloudy water cause 1. Baking soda, muriatic acid, and liquid chlorine. Total cost under $15. 1 total pool store bill for the same outcome, $60 to $90. 1 cause 2, the filtration problem. The fix the industry never mentions because it does not sell anything. Your chemistry is perfect. Chlorine is at 3 parts per million. pH is 7.5. Alkalinity is solid, and the water is still hazy. Not improving, not getting worse, just sitting there dull and uninviting. This is a filtration problem, and no amount of chemical is going to fix it because chemicals do not clean filters. Your filter's job is to physically remove suspended particles from the water. 1. When it cannot do that job, because it is dirty, damaged, or undersized for the load, those particles stay in the water and the water stays cloudy. Pouring clarifier into a dirty filter is like mopping a floor with a dirty mop. You are moving the problem around, not removing it. Here is what to check in order. First, runtime. In summer, your pump needs to run 8 to 12 hours a day. A rough rule: 1 hour per 10 degrees of air temperature. At 90 degrees, that is 9 hours minimum. And an owner running the pump 4 to 6 hours a day in July is not turning the water over completely. And particles the filter never sees stay suspended in the water. This is the most common filtration problem, and the fix costs exactly nothing. Increase runtime. Second, filter pressure. Look at your pressure gauge. Every filter has a normal operating range, usually marked on the gauge itself or in your manual. When pressure runs 8 to 10 pounds per square inch above normal, the filter is telling you it is full. A clogged filter does not filter. It restricts. Sand filters need a backwash. 1 cartridge filters need to come out and be hosed down thoroughly, not just rinsed. Hosed every pleat, top to bottom. DE filters need a backwash and fresh DE added. If you cannot remember the last time you cleaned your filter, assume it needs it and do it now. Third, for cartridge filters specifically, hosing is not always enough. Oils from sunscreen, body lotion, and skin accumulate in the pleats and water cannot rinse them out. They create a film that blocks flow and cuts filtration dramatically. 1A cartridge soak once a season overnight in a diluted filter cleaner or a 20-to-1 water to muriatic acid solution strips that film completely. Pull the cartridge, soak it overnight, rinse it thoroughly in the morning, reinstall. The difference in water clarity after a proper cartridge soak is sometimes dramatic enough that owners assume they installed a new filter. Here is the number most owners never know. A clean filter running 10 hours a day turns over the entire volume of an average residential pool 2 to 3 times. 1A dirty filter running 10 hours might turn it over less than once, and the water knows it. When chemistry is right and the water is still hazy, 80% of the time the answer is in the filter room, not in the chemical shed. Fourth, check your filter media age. Sand in a sand filter works well for about 5 to 7 years. After that, the sand grains have worn smooth and lost the sharp edges that actually trap particles. Water channeling through a worn sand bed carries particles straight through and back into the pool. 1A fresh sand change every 5 to 7 years is maintenance. Most owners skip until they cannot figure out why their chemistry is perfect and their water refuses to clear. The sand change runs $50 to $80 in materials and an afternoon of work. The alternative is cloudy water every summer despite perfect chemistry, chasing the problem in the wrong place. The fix for a filtration problem: run the pump longer, clean the filter, soak the cartridge if oil fouled, and replace the media if it is past its years. No bottles, no store visit, no $60 purchase that does not address the cause. 1. Before we get to cause 3, let me stop here for a second. If you are realizing that the last 2 or 3 times you had cloudy water you went straight to the pool store and bought a bottle instead of checking these things first, you are not alone. That is what most owners do, because the store is set up to be the answer. But if this is the kind of information you wish you had years ago, I put together a 39-page guide called Jimmy's Pool Playbook, From Cloudy to Crystal Clear. It covers the complete grocery store method, every substitute product with exact doses, the full green pool slam process without a service call, a printable weekly testing routine, and the 5 numbers that run your pool. I went from $600 a season to under $150. My daughter helped me put it online, so the link below this video should work. Now let's talk about the third cause, because this is the one that blindsides owners after a good weekend. 1 cause 3, the load problem. What happens to your pool after a crowd? Everything was fine. Friday, Saturday, you had 8 people in the pool for 5 hours. Sunday morning, the water looks like diluted milk. Chemistry seemed fine when you tested Saturday morning. The filter ran all day, and yet here you are. This is a load problem, and it is chemistry, but it is not the same chemistry problem as cause 1. It needs its own explanation because the fix is different. Here is the mechanism. Every person who gets in your pool brings something with them: sweat, sunscreen, body oil, lotions. 1. Cosmetics. And a compound the pool industry politely does not name at length: urine. All of it goes into the water. All of it is organic load, and organic load consumes chlorine without sanitizing anything. When chlorine reacts with sweat and body oils and the other compounds swimmers bring in, it does not disappear. It converts. It becomes chloramines, also called combined chlorine. Chloramines are spent, used-up chlorine. They are no longer sanitizing. They are just sitting in the water, occupying space, creating that sharp chlorine smell that people associate with too much chlorine. That smell is actually the opposite signal. It means too little working chlorine, not too much. A properly sanitized pool with high free chlorine and low combined chlorine does not have a strong chemical smell. Here's the part that makes a crowd dangerous for water clarity. By Sunday morning, your free chlorine may still test at 1 or 2 parts per million, which looks passable. But combined chlorine is high, the water is cloudy with suspended oxidized organic particles, and that 1 to 2 parts per million of working chlorine is not enough to deal with the backlog. The water is behind. Not broken. Just behind. The fix is a shock, but not any shock. And not the pool store pool shock bag that costs $12 for a pound of Cal Hypo you could buy in bulk for a third of the price. The fix is a proper breakpoint chlorination, which is a specific dose calculated to not just raise chlorine, but push it high enough to completely burn off the combined chlorine. That threshold is 10 times the combined chlorine level. If your combined chlorine is 0.5 parts per million, you need to push free chlorine to at least 5 parts per million to hit breakpoint. One short of that, you oxidize some of the chloramines and leave the rest, and the water clears partially and then stalls. Calcium hypochlorite granular shock is the right tool here. It does not add cyanuric acid, it hits fast, and it is inexpensive in bulk. A standard dose is 1 pound per 10,000 gallons to raise chlorine about 10 parts per million. For a heavy load situation after a party, use that as your base and add more if your combined chlorine reading is high. And here is the timing rule that the industry somehow never advertises: shock at dusk, never during the day. One unstabilized chlorine under a full summer sun loses 50 to 90% of its potency in a matter of hours. You pour a bag in at 2 in the afternoon and the sun takes most of it before it finishes working. You paid for a full dose and got a fraction of the result. Every pool store sells shock. Not one of them has a sign on the bag that says add this at night. The timing is as important as the dose. Add your shock at dusk with the pump running. Run the pump through the night, at least 8 hours. Do not test chlorine an hour later and conclude it is done. The real test is the morning after. Check the water at dawn. If chlorine has dropped back near 0 overnight, the organic load was heavy enough that you need a second dose. 2 shocks on consecutive evenings is not unusual after a high-use weekend. Run the pump. Retest at dawn. Shock again if needed. A load problem cleared with proper breakpoint chlorination. Clear water within 12 to 24 hours. A load problem treated with a clarifier and a standard single shock dose that happens at 2 p.m. Still cloudy 48 hours later, and the owner cannot figure out why. Putting it all together. The 1-hour field method. Here is the whole sequence compressed into what you actually do when you walk outside and find cloudy water. Step 1. Test immediately. Free chlorine, pH, alkalinity, cyanuric acid. 2 minutes, write the numbers down. Step 2. Identify your cause. Chemistry off, low chlorine, high or low pH, alkalinity out of range. That is cause 1. Chemistry fine but hazy for days despite adding chemicals. Check the filter room. That is cause 2. Chemistry was fine 2 days ago but you had a crowd since. That is cause 3. Step 3. Match the fix to the cause. Never add more chlorine until pH is in range. Never buy clarifier until you have cleaned the filter and confirmed runtime. Never shock at midday. Those 3 rules alone eliminate the most common and expensive mistakes. Step 4 for cause 1. Fix alkalinity first with baking soda if needed. Wait 2 hours, then bring pH to 7.4 to 7.6 with muriatic acid. Then add liquid chlorine or plain bleach in the evening. Retest in the morning. Step 4 for cause 2. Backwash or clean the filter. Increase pump run time to at least 10 hours. Consider a cartridge soak if the filter is oil fouled. Retest water in 24 hours. If chemistry is right and the filter is clean and running, the water clears itself. Step 4 for cause 3. Calculate your shock dose for breakpoint chlorination. Add Cal Hypo at dusk with the pump running. Run overnight. Test at dawn. Repeat if needed. Clear water by the following morning in most cases. Total cost for any of these fixes using the grocery store method and bulk chemicals, under $20 in most cases. Total time standing next to the pool. Under an hour. Everything else is the pump doing its job while you do something else. The pattern underneath every cloudy pool. Look at what every cloudy water situation has in common. Not the cause, those vary. The common thread is that the owner poured something before reading something. They reacted to the look of the water instead of the chemistry behind it. The pool store trained them to do exactly that because a reacting owner is a buying owner. The method that clears cloudy water in an hour is not a product. It is a sequence test, identify, match the fix to the actual cause, correct in the right order, and let the pump do the rest. 1. That sequence costs less than $20 in materials and takes less than an hour of your time. The store version costs $60 to $120, often treats the wrong cause, and sends you back the following weekend. The owners who never have a cloudy pool on a party Saturday are not lucky. They are not chemistry experts. They own a $15 test kit. They know 4 numbers and what those numbers mean, and they have stopped buying the front of the bottle and started reading the back. If this fixed a problem you have been fighting all season, drop the cause in the comments. Which one was it? Cause 1, 2, or 3? 1. And how long had you been chasing it the wrong way? Someone else reading that comment catches it faster than you did? Every video on this channel works the same way. Real numbers, no sponsors, no pool store upsell. If that is useful to you, subscribe. This channel reads the water, not the marketing.